been a long time. 2 weeks since I uploaded last time. I know I have to get my upload schedule better, but let's get into this. I sat in my bedroom watching some Ultimate Spider-Man that is actually a show I grew up with, and I really thought it was funny that Spider-Man had like an entire team around him and how the story focused on him becoming the Ultimate Spider-Man. So I created the Ultimate Spider-Man Cinematic Universe, or USCU computer ship. It sounds like a computer ship. Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man film. Yeah, I have backgrounds now. I thought it was a boring with grey ones. Definitely just not because the guy has stole this idea from him started using backgrounds. No, it's definitely not. Why? So, Peter Parker and his friend Harry Osborn are standing in Peter's bedroom as they both are now planning to go to the second day of high school. I don't like the first day of high school trope, so it's the second day. As Uncle Ben comes in. Uncle Ben never dies, Aunt May is the one that is dead in this verse. Just because I couldn't find a good picture of her. So he goes in and tells them that they have to get going or they're gonna get late. On the way they meet Mary Jane Watson, their friend that really they doesn't keep in contact after high school with. They meet her and as they go to school, as they get a lecture from Dr. Kurt Connors, or the lizard specialist as he calls himself, as he is having a seminar on the importance of human anatomy. He invites Peter to go to his lab because he sees that Peter has great. Dear Peter shows off his suit, because Peter reveals to him that he is Spider-Man. Remember the suit, it's going to be important. He tells him as Kurt helps him build a real suit. Now it's also revealed that Kurt and Peter has had a connection. He already knew he was Spider-Man. He actually helped him build his web shooters. As Peter goes up to town to fight Shocker. And when he's defeated Shocker, the Green Goblin shows up. He fights him, but then he goes to Dr. Kurt Connors, as is revealed Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin. He's not evil. He's just a new defense mechanism system that he has built up. As he leaves and then talks. But then Kurt Connors lizard out. Comes the lizard and kills. As Peter and Harry finds him. Peter goes to fight the lizard and gets brutally fucking destroyed. As he goes to Harry, as Harry has now implemented the third, this Green Goblin suit and uses it, the advanced suit as he calls it. As Peter goes off, fights the lizard, and turns him back to Kurt Connors. They go back to the lab and mourn his dad. As it's now, no longer Oscorp Industries. But guess what happened? Because when they read throughout Osborn's will, Peter is left a pretty substantial money amount. So when that does, Peter now has enough money to buy a pretty big share and name it off to Parker Industries. Why Harry doesn't do that? Because Harry's not really interested. At the end of the end credit scene is a kid named Miles walking up to him saying that he has similar powers to Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2. Yes. Just like Iron Man. The movie starts off with Miles in his homemade suit that is still black and red. Nice color scheme. As he goes fight. As Peter then shows up to help defeat Shocker and his Apple label. As he then goes home, they now know that it's been a 4-year time skip. They're now 18 and going in college. And Miles have like been neglected his shit. Okay, 2 years time skip. I was joking. They're now 18. They're 16 now. And so now talking to Miles about that he cannot just go out in the street and fight people. It's like really dangerous. He needs a suit. So Peter helps him build his classic suit. Or his advanced suit. Because Peter, why would he not have it? Peter goes then out and finds that he was in an alley where he is fused with the symbiote. And he goes back, shows off his new symbiote fish. But also, we hint at Null, as he says that he can now finally start his venture in on the real world. As we see Peter and Miles taking out Prowler and Shocker. Prowler is not Miles' uncle in this verse. He might be, it's just never talked about or revealed. We then see Miles and Peter fight on a rooftop as Miles has to go back to Lizard, Dr. Kurt Connors, and Harry to figure out a plan to defeat him. Then he goes back to fight him, and they're able to rip it off him. Now you see that now it's like not hostable. You will probably remember that. As they both go back, and Peter actually gets his upgraded suit. Now Miles is, both of them are upgraded suits. As they then go off to fight him. They're both destroyed, but Kurt's like, I know what can defeat it, and he listens out and fights. As then Miles and Peter then has to also defeat him to return back to his normal. Iceman, because Iceman and Firestar are the characters that I would consider Spider-Man characters. semi on Iceman, but he's very big for our Peters. As it cuts back to long, long time when Peter and Iceman are in college. Iceman is injected with a serum that turns him into Iceman. As Iceman trains and figures it out. This is a very big plotline. Osborn, Oscorp, and then Peter Parker Industry are doing very, very terrible experiments on kids to turn them into powerful beings. It might be just teenagers. That's what they do. Like Pyro here, there's gonna be a lot more. Iceman and Firestar films are gonna focus a lot on this. There's two generations, as they're gonna be called. As you see Miles fighting Pyro. He is defeated, but then Iceman fights Pyro. And he wins. As he then goes back to Miles to have a conversation. As he then has to go off again to defeat Pyro, because he didn't win hard enough. As we then see Peter in his new suit, a hooded one. He doesn't like hoods. Miles had made him forced to wear it. Then we go to Firestar. Movie starts off with see Harry and Kurt Connors, Dr. Kurt, looking at their new prospects. Firestar, Mr. Negative, Electro, and the symbiote. Peter then goes and yells at Harry, "Why do you keep doing this? We know there's more that the Osbones created. You can't keep doing this. You're creating an army of evil people." As we then see Firestar break out Mr. Negative, Electro, and the symbiote. Instead, Peter has to go to fight them. He is no longer in his scarlet suit. He took off the hood. Electro quite simply just escapes. Peter arrives. Mr. Negative goes up and corrupts him. As then the symbiote goes up, touches him, and becomes Anti-Venom. As he tells Firestar that she can be a hero. She will be free if she just helps defeat Electro. She does. And then it cuts to Iceman and Firestar standing as they form a group. Spider-Man is an amazing friend, aka the Shields. As Peter shows a suit to Miles. A fireproof one that they might need if they go rogue. Spider-Man is Amazing Friends. Yes, this is very much inspired by the 80s TV show. It starts out with Peter and Miles both in hooded suit. He's now wearing this Iceman for the first time. Sorry for that. As they are now discussing, as Null has now finally met Anti-Venom, as he's now launched his full invasion on Earth. They meet Anti-Venom and he tells them a lot about this lore. As Firestar goes takes on down, as then Spidey and Anti-Venom goes to help clear up. Then Iceman gets to know about Peter's contingency plans on him, so they have a short fight that Peter wins. But then they go to help out. And then Anti-Venom becomes big Anti-Venom and fights Venom one-on-one. And then we see Miles also in his now fireproof suit, so that he can like reflect shit on them. As they all think they're defeated, Anti-Venom pulls up, rips him into like the symbiote dimension, and corrupts him. And now he's the king of the symbiotes. And then credit scene shows a symbiote with a host. Miles Morales, aka Spidey. It starts out with Miles and Iceman having a conversation in his room, as we then cut back to a new experiment. They use like the dimension with the powers that Anti-Venom has to create a pocket dimension. He escapes and creates his pocket dimension. And then Miles have to go to Anti-Venom, because Anti-Venom is very mad over this, and they have to fuse into Anti-Venom Miles. Anti-Venom Miles then has to go off to fight Spot. And they have like a dimension clash. And he wins and then destroys him. Spot can never return because Spot doesn't exist. He was destroyed. And then it cuts to Miles and Anti-Venom having a conversation. Miles in a very, very ugly suit. We have to just talk about that. As it then cuts to Miles having a conversation with Nick Fury about him becoming a SHIELD agent. This is just to correlate with the MCU, as this is technically happened in the same verse, and it's very weird, as Miles shows up in other projects, but then as a SHIELD agent, just dressed in this. Firestar. The movie starts out with them using a fragment of a symbiote and creates carnage. This is gonna be a very big follow, because Kurt Connors and Harry have to keep themselves alive to not create more of these threats. Peter yells at him again as Carnage now escapes. And Firestar can't do anything to him, because the biggest weakness of symbiotes were fire. Now they create a symbiote that isn't weak to fire. They're not weak to sound in this universe. As we see them, and then they talk about how he created him. He shot in a lot of heat into a person genetically. So they do that again and turns into the blue Firestar. as he flies up and fights Connors and wins. And then Spider-Man 3. There are 5 Spider-Man films. As it starts off with Miles and Peter having a conversation while Peter's like telling him off, take that shit off, you're not a SHIELD agent. As it then cuts to Peter fighting this goblin, he is overwhelmed until he's able to escape to the lab, where he builds the superior Spider-Man suit, and he's able to take most. As he then meets Harry. The reason Harry has been doing all of these bad experiments is because the Green Goblin has been telling him to, so he has an army. As he then is able to cool Harry down and then have a sweet conversation with Dr. Connors to stop him. Iceman. Now they're just going through all the cases they already had, obviously. The wrecking ball, as it's called in this verse, and laser beam. Yeah. As laser beam teams up with Iceman to defeat wrecking ball. They're able to, but they have to first get help. They're not that able to, so they call Anti-Venom that has to go big Anti-Venom and fight him. It just ends up with him ripping him into his vest. There's a lot of things here. You don't want to go into that vest. You're never coming out. As it then goes and he recruits Laserbeam to the team. The second Spidey film. The movie starts off with Spidey fighting Shocker, and then Prowler, and then Sandman, as all of them lose, as they then are recruited by Scorpion, a creator from Roxxon, who tells them that he has a plan. As then the Roxxon CEO goes in and tells them, I have a solution to all your problems. As he then locks Spider-Man there, they absolutely fucking mollywop him, leave him for dead. He's able to lock in, then goes fighting them, takes them all out. And then we cut to Roxxon, who has collected all the villains they have fought up to this point. And we just see what he will do with them. He doesn't do anything with Sandman, because Sandman just dies because of the sickness he had. As it then cuts to the entire group as they all meet Spider-Man in Slayer 1. As Miles and Peter goes up to fight some, and then he upgrades his Slayer 1 to Slayer 2. As him and Firestorm goes off fighting, and he upgrades to Slayer 3. As they're now gonna face Maul and Lean in this demon army. As they all come up, they all have a swift battle. As then, they're all sent around the city to take down different bases. As Peter has now finished his Slayer 4. And they all have cleared out their bases. So as Peter stands up, he captures him. Harry walks in, and Harry taunts him. Who's behind the glass again? And that's when he activates his powers. Nick Fury then comes to talk to Spidey about his team having to stop messing in SHIELD business. Spider-Man 4. Movie starts out with Spider-Man is in his Slayer 3 fighting Prowler, as we then cut to Mysterio, who has his little dimension working. Spidey is ripped into this and have to fight former opponents, like Green Goblin and Lizard, and then Venom. As he launched out, he goes home and builds a Slayer 5. This is very inspired by the Marks. He's like this first Iron Man. As he then goes off to fight him, he's now built a suit that is like a little able to break it. And this is another dimension. This is an illusion. This is another dimension. And he's able to take most of them down because he figures out that they puff smoke. As he then just beats up him, and Roxxon CEO collects him, Iceman. Then cuts to Mystique, Scarlet Witch, Metallo, and Quicksilver. Oh, not Metallo, Magneto, having a conversation as they have been locked up in this Oscorp base, and now they're released, as the other 3 mutants are gonna go to fight them in the middle of the city. Scarlet Witch and Firestar has their battle. Iceman realizes that he has always been the fastest up to this point, but he's not faster than Quicksilver. And Laser Beam is just fighting Mystique. As it then cuts to them all having to plan as Peter shows up. Taps them. This is a 2-film potters. Then we see all of them get ready to fight them. Firestar now realizes that he cannot be hit by those Scarlet Witch beams. She's called the Scarlet Witch, but she's more just like energy shooting and like fight and shit. As we then see all of them technically beat their people. And Spider-Man taunts Magneto, because Magneto has been proud that he was first Oscorp experiment. But we know that isn't true. That was Peter. So he fucking breaks Magneto. So he becomes a sociopath and just tries to kill. As it then pulls up and defeat them in their own headquarters. As we see them like arrive, the people that won their battles, and it then comes to the third Spidey film. As Spidey is now standing above the city, he's called Spidey. As then we cut to the Roxxon CEO. and Dr. Octavius that has built Rhino. The mouse gets absolutely demolished by it and slammed to the ground. Then goes home, talks to Spider-Man as he builds, like, remodels his Spidey Slayer 4 suit. He uses it to flip Rhino onto his back. As we then see the Rock Sun's hell, I guess we gotta upgrade him more. As we see Miles just take it back and decolor it. Its form is of Spider-Man 5. Spider-Man is now just putting on his Slayer 6, as Dr. Octavius have now finished his arms. As he then goes, as Peter fights Prowler and Shocker on the Manhattan. He's now immune to both their attacks thanks to his new suit. But he gets absolutely demolished. Sable slid away. He builds Slayer 7, as he then sees a natty guy getting home. And then Dr. Octavius is like, he's like us, I would never hurt him. A nerd! And then Peter gets caught up. Peter's able to break free. Oh, sorry. He's caught up, able to break free, save the kid, run back, and then fucking rip his arms off. And then just pummel him. That's his first interaction with the Roxanne CEO. Spider-Man is protected defense. He now launches his troops. Vulture is now revealed that he had fought Spider-Man earlier. He is just now showing up for the fist. If you don't know who this company is, they're the villains of Spider-Man Miles Morales PS4. As we see them all around the city. As we see our team, now Spider-Man, in his Slayer 8, ready to go out to fight. We see Cyclops, Laser Beam, I have to get better with that name, fighting Prowler and Shocker. He is probably going to be able to take themselves because they're jokes. He does. As it then comes Iceman, Firestar, and Mysterio. First battle is now Mysterio versus, Anti-Venom, who absolutely demolish him in the Dimension battle. And then Mysterio fucking dies. No, I'm just kidding, he gets released. As we see our main group then stand there ready, telling Harry over the intercom that they're ready. And it then cuts to Peter and Miles. Peter fucking kicking the Rhino to the friction. And we see Miles gets caught, Peter saving him, and then they're also ready. So now we see it, and they're kidnapped by the Roxanne CEO that now locks Peter and Miles in, as he rips off the suit of Peter and changes the color scheme, as he now calls himself the Superior Spider-Man. Miles grabs Peter and escapes. And we see Dr. Octopus collect the 5 strongest out of them to create the Sinister Six. You then see Miles like, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna go up to the lab? Peter says, nah, we're going home. As Peter gets his mask from his first suit and builds the Spider-Man 99 suit. As we see Miles going with his Brooklyn 99 suit to fight the Superior Spider-Man. We see Peter pick up Mysterio as he's trying to send him into his dimension, shocking at Dr. Octopus and sending them in there. And we then see him flip Rhino on top of Scorpion. Scorpion then comes in, he then fucking pummels him. And we see Electro trying to shoot Electro. He's able to make him hit Vulture, by dropping. So Vulture's down. And then he just slide tackles him and jumps on him. He's now finished. As Mysterio comes, he just punches Mysterio. Mysterio is not a tough opponent if you know how his powers work. And especially now when all of his suits just negate his ability. As he then gets grabbed, kicks him to the ground, said, I got better, you got worse, I see. As we then see him, right before his Miles is about to be killed, stopping him, and then they just pummel him. And then they rip off the suit. And it fuses back to Peter. So now his suit is even stronger. And and then we see the gang all collected. Venom. As we see Harry standing in his office. And now we realize where he got back from. The Venom. As he Mary Jane walk in to do an interview with him. As he then walks in and turns his screen. As an Agent Venom pulls up, get defeated, but then is able to win and turn her back. As an Anti-Venom comes, and he realizes and takes him to Peter that he's not back in a mostly toxic, but it's still classified the Slayer 10 as because he still goes by that. As then we see Harry have to deactivate and get closed in the Anti-Venom, and then goes back out to be Agent Venom. It was just so that he didn't have the bad effects left. Thanks for watching. This is a bit of a longer video. I've been talking for a while. I can feel that in my voice. But it's like, thanks for watching, guys.